Our next speaker is Deena Horst. Deena is on the board of education. She's been there for 2 terms, and this is her 3rd term that she's running for. I felt it important to ask Deena to come up and speak to the group because of our education system is so important to Kansas and to the conservative cause. We need to have a focus on education. We have been by far too lax on letting the liberal side of our schools take over our education system, and that's where we're seeing the left-wing side of things going into our colleges and universities. So with that, Deena, okay.
Thank you very much for the invitation to come today. I don't know if you know that you are in District, whoops, I need to get further away evidently, in District 6. And that is the state board district that you are in. I live in Salina. To show you how large District 6 is, it starts in Donovan and Atchison County and goes west to Phillips and Brooks County, which is, if you don't know where that is, it's north of Hayes. So I drove most of 36 to get here. And I tell my colleagues I can see Nebraska from my district. And then it goes south to I-70. So I do not have Shawnee County, Douglas, or Wyandotte, or Johnson. So all the counties that are in between Hayes and Atchison and Donovan County, Jackson County, Brown County, there are 4 Senate districts. And one of those districts is Dennis Piles, who is your senator, your Kansas senator. So you have a sense of how big the area is. Jake was talking about having 25 counties. I have 24. So it's a large area with about 80 school districts. So I have a lot of fun running around observing what is happening. I thought you might like to know a little bit about what the school board is doing and what it has done. The school board doesn't select curriculum. That's the job of your local school board. And what we do is make sure that the standards are there's a recommended group of standards for each subject area. And that means that every 7 years, and this is by statute, we have to revisit each subject area. And what we do is we have a group of teachers look at those standards and decide if they are rigorous enough, also whether there's maybe too much rigor for the level that we've assigned a specific group of standards. So there may be some reduction in those cases. How many of you know that you can go on the KSDE, which is the Department of Education website, and find those standards? How many of you knew that? A few of you. You can do that. So if you have questions about something that's being taught in your school, and you wonder if it was something that the state board said needed to be taught, you can, or if there's something that's not taught that you think should be, go on that website and read them and find out if there's something missing. Or if you disagree with any of them, please let me know, because that's my job, is to listen to what you're thinking, because I'm your representative on that board. So please, I've got things like a brochure back there, and you can contact me that way, or I actually have a state board address too, and you're welcome to use it. And you just go under the state board and you'll find me. Anyway, another thing that we got to do this year was when COVID arrived. I think you probably have all heard of the continuous learning that was begun at the, well, it was in March, basically, when it started. And there were some teachers that were asked to come up with a plan that could be used for the planning at each school district. And they did that in 48 hours. So you can be rest assured it wasn't as strong as it could have been, or maybe should have been. But we thought that surely we could get kids back in school. But, you know, we have a governor who decided that no, kids needed to stay at home and could not go to school. And so there was another group of teachers and administrators who just thought that was inappropriate. And so we needed to start planning immediately. So they began to plan, how can we change this in case this continues for a longer period of time than we'd like for it to. So there's a document called Navigating Change. It is also on the website. It is 1,000 pages plus in length, because it not only has learning ideas, in other words, lesson plans that teachers can log on to and use if they choose, but it also had operating ideas. How do you keep your kids safe? How do you keep your staff safe and healthy? So in that whole process, there were about 1,000 Kansans who were involved and in the planning, and those were teachers, school board and local school board members, state school board members were part of it, health officials from KDHE were there. But when we approved it in July and then sent it to the school districts, within hours, Governor Kelly had announced that she was going to delay school, the start of school. The legislature had given the state board the responsibility of determining whether that was appropriate or not. 5 of us voted yes, it was okay. 5 of us voted no. You have to have 6 to approve it. So I was one of those who voted no. So you were able to start school when your district thought they were ready to start. Otherwise, they would have had to start after Labor Day. So with that process, I was unopposed until till my vote. And there were some Democrats that just were really upset that I would vote against the governor. And so they found a gentleman to run a write-in campaign. He didn't get enough votes to actually be placed on the ballot, but I suspect you will see his name again on some sort of, either there'll be an ad on TV or something that will say I was a bad girl and I voted wrong. So you'll know why they're saying that. So I just wanted you to know that was the purpose. How many of you have children or grandchildren who go to private schools? The mask issue became a really controversial thing as well. And there were, I believe, a couple of legislators, and I'm not sure who they were, but they asked the Attorney General for an opinion whether school districts could make their own decisions. School districts have home rule. The state board or the local boards do. So that meant that constitutionally, also it's in statute, they can make decisions that affect them, and that's what I was basing my decision on. Was that I knew local districts from having been a state legislator previously. I knew they could make those kinds of decisions on their own. They didn't need the governor to make that decision. And those that had lots of COVID cases chose to not open until at least a week before Labor Day. And most of them it was after Labor Day. But districts such as Sylvan Grove, which is in District 6, and has had absolutely 0 COVID cases, could open school when they thought they were ready. So I believe Seneca and also Sabetha opened also. But with the mask issue, the local districts could open because of home rule, or could decide what they wanted to do with masks. But according to the Attorney General, your private schools have no authority to make that decision from a statute or constitutional point of view. So they were supposed to go to their county commission. So I don't know whether your county commission decided that you should have masks, or I see some of you with them and some do not. So I'm assuming it's kind of up to the individual. But at any rate, that your local commission, your county commission, probably drove what goes on in your private school. But I'll tell you, your private schools could not have opened if the five of us had not voted no, because the governor's executive order included private schools as well. So I hope that I made a decision that at least the majority of you in this room are pleased that I made. But if you're not, please tell me. I got thousands of emails, literally thousands, with people on both sides of the fence. And I'm still getting them. So I've learned to respond as much as I possibly can to all of them. And please let me know if you have issues with anything that's going on. And if I don't know the answer, I will seek that answer out. And Ray asked me if I'd also say whether there were things I wanted to change. What I want to do is make sure that I'm representing you and that we are making certain that our students have the very best education in the state of Kansas that we can possibly offer them, so they can be the most successful people on earth. That's my goal. So it's like reach for the stars. And I'll be around until probably this is over. So if you have questions, please, or comments, please contact me, grab me, and visit with me. I do have some signs. I also have brochures, so you can read some more what I've got in mind. So anyway, thank you very much. I guess if they have questions, you probably, if they have questions, he said, I can answer them now.
Can you tell us about Common Core?
I'm going to.
Common Core that schools are using, but not all schools are, and what's the advantage of having it? And also, in favor of charter schools.
Common Core is something that if your districts are still working with Common Core, it's not because we told them to, now anyway. when I first was elected, that was on the table. And really wasn't on the table, it was being done. And there are some issues with it, but there also are some positives. I think I saw some when I was subbing, which I also do. I did see first graders being able to explain to a fellow first grader why they needed to subtract in that way. And that was kind of impressive because normally little children don't think that deeply, because what those children were doing was helping that child understand. And I'm not even sure as an adult I could have explained it as well as they did. So I did see some things occurring in that regard that I think was positive. But there were other issues with them, and sometimes I thought the rigor wasn't quite as high as it could have been. So those were some of the more negative components that went along with it. But so many individuals in the state were not pleased with Common Core. We kind of told districts that they no longer had to follow that component, and we stopped our connection with the national group that we were involved with. So from a state board point of view, we're looking more at what do the employers need? What are they seeing? That what are the schools that your graduates attend if they do attend post-secondary? What are they seeing as something that may be a deficit? So those are the things that we're really encouraging districts to do, is to be more in contact with the employers of graduates, as well as being connected in some way with the schools, the post-secondary schools that your district graduates usually are attending. So I hope I sort of answered your question. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Is there any requirement in the state, or the state requirement, that a high school graduate knows how to balance a checkbook?
Yes, there actually is. There's a financial literacy courses that they're supposed to take, but you and I know, if you go back that far and remember, as a student, you didn't always listen to everything you were told. So that's part of our struggle. And but the education is there. In fact, it starts, I believe, in 7th and 8th grade. And then it is seen throughout their high school years, basically in math classes. So, and I believe in 7th and 8th grade it may be more in human ecology or home ec, because most of us knew it as being. Anyone else?
I was just wondering, what class is it that these young people are learning that America is a bad place to live in?
Do we have Kansas kids that are learning
I
that?
don't know about Kansas kids, but I know all over. We've got kids out there that think America is a bad place to live.
Because if we are finding that here, that's a big issue from my point of view. Because I've seen the standards, and nowhere in the standards are we promoting that kind of an idea. We expect history to be taught, and we expect respect for our forefathers to be taught. So the other component there is you may want to make sure that your local school district, that local board, sees all that as important as well. When you're electing new board members, you need to probably ask that question also. Because that's something we don't promote, but that doesn't mean that a local district may not have someone who is promoting that kind of an idea. And it's also possible that you have a teacher who is doing that. So that's why you probably want to be very familiar with what's being taught in your schools.
So Deena, you mentioned before that you don't, the state school board does not set the curriculum, it's the school districts.
Right.
And as far as textbooks, it's the school districts that order textbooks.
Yes.
So in other words, the state school board doesn't have any jurisdiction on which textbooks they can get?
There may, if a district doesn't know all of the textbooks that are available, I'm sure that someone on the department level would share that information with them. But having been a teacher, I can tell you, I probably, even though I taught art, I probably received 5 or 6 different companies' solicitations for books every year. So I would find it difficult to believe that school districts didn't already know what was available. That we don't recommend anything. We would just tell them that this company has this textbook, and that let it be the decision of the district themselves. So.
One more question, okay, to make it clear, you do not have any jurisdiction over universities or colleges?
No, we do not. However, there is a group of state board members and the regents, members of the region, actually meet and try to kind of come up with something that is positive for Kansas education and for all Kansas graduates. So,
okay, again, you're not over the universities or colleges in the state, but if the high school kids are taking college courses, are you over that jurisdiction?
sense we are, and other ways we're not. We allow school districts to give credit to schools to students for taking a college credit course. But other than that, we don't have anything to say about the content of those classes. Only the regents would. Okay. Thank you very much again for allowing me to come before you and share some thoughts. And please don't be shy. If you have questions or concerns, please let me know.
Thank you, Deena. Appreciate you coming on. And Deena's in Salina, right? In Salina, so
About 3 hours.
she had quite a drive up here today, and I'm very,
It's beautiful.
yeah, I'm very pleased that she made the drive to come and talk to us.